Launched in 1919, the San Francisco Maru was a regular visitor to Australian and American waters until she was outclassed by more modern vessels in later years. But during the 1930s, she was called out of semi-retirement and made a number of voyages to Australia, the last in 1937 to carry a shipment of wheat from Adelaide in South Australia to the United Kingdom. On February 5, 1944, 12 days before Operation Hailstone, the San Francisco Maru arrived in the Lagoon as part of a convoy and dropped anchor in the 4th Fleet anchorage off Dublon and Atan Islands. Seen here on fire in the centre of the photograph, she was struck by several 500-pound bombs on the second day of the attack and was reported to be burning furiously and sinking stern first. Common to most wartime merchant ships was a single forward gun mounted high on the bow. Although quite effective against a submarine on the surface, the gun was almost useless against attacking aircraft. This pufferfish is oblivious to the deadly contents in the forward hold. But we are not. Stacks of hemispheric beach mines, artillery shells, and boxes of cordite, a type of gunpowder, were only a part of this ship's lethal cargo. She was nicknamed the $1 Million Wreck because of the value of the goods carried in her holds. The San Francisco Maru was known by the US Navy as an Aden-class ship. There were around 42 of these ships constructed, 10 of which served as so-called hell ships, transporting Allied prisoners of war who were housed in their holds under the most appalling conditions. Here, still in position high up on the forward mast, the remains of a navigation light are almost buried in the prolific growth found all over this wreck. San Francisco Maru is one of a dozen ships lost in the 4th Fleet anchorage area. Visibility is generally very good, as seen here approaching the number 2 hold. It is this hold, and the deck above it, that set the San Francisco apart from her peers. Most of the hold's wooden floor has long since collapsed, and the well-preserved remains of 2 tanker trucks now sit perched across the rafters. The level below is littered with aerial bombs, aircraft engines and spare parts. What a treasure trove this must have been for the first divers on the wreck in 1973. But the San Francisco's real icons are these. 3 Mitsubishi 3-man Type 95 tanks. These little tanks are probably the most photographed feature of any shipwreck in the world. It was their images on the cover of National Geographic magazine in 1976 that brought the world's attention to Truk Lagoon. The plan for filming the wreck of the San Francisco began months before our arrival in the lagoon. With the experience of previous trips and research from a number of references, we were quite aware of the ship's most significant features.
Yes, I did.
Further valuable information came from our legendary dive guide, Chenny Tipwet. Chenny has over 30 years' experience diving the Truk wrecks and worked with authors Klaus Lindemann and Dan Bailey in the production of their books. One of the subjects we were keen to photograph is a diesel steamroller sitting on the sand off the port side of the ship. Descending to the bridge area and then off the side of the hull in excellent visibility, the dark shape is easily discernible on the seafloor at 63 metres. Lying on its side, the roller is identical to one contained in the hold of the nearby wreck of the Maru. They were used for the repair of roads and runways, and their compact size made them perfect for use on the islands. Looking back against the morning sun, the hull and superstructure of the San Francisco. What a remarkable sight. Ascending from the ocean floor, following the wall of decorative sea fans, the next stop is the ship's engine room. Most of the wrecks in Truk have their engine skylights open. The San Francisco is no exception. Dropping through the opening and into the compartment, the ship's triple expansion steam engine, partly covered in debris, comes into view. Further down, past companionways and ladders, the base of the engine reveals a confined area heavily coated in silt. The wood that once covered the roof of the mid-island deckhouse has long since rotted away, leaving the beautifully coloured metal framework. A bathroom comes into view. Its porthole's still open. This one is the same as another in the bridge superstructure. A doorway leads to an area that was the dining room and saloon. Once the showpiece of the ship, passengers socialised here before and after meals in an era long past. The ship's galley's in an odd position. A small deck house between the number 3 and 4 holds. Kitchen staff were forced to transport meals from the galley along the open deck and into the dining area. This must have been a daunting task in rough seas. The rear deck and holds are jammed full of ammunition in preparation for a land invasion by Allied forces that never eventuated. Artillery shells are stacked in rows of 12. Boxes of bullets are crammed into every available space. A crushed truck lies amid the rubble. Torpedo bodies piled on top of one another. With the ship's deadly cargo, it is quite remarkable that she did not explode and suffer the same fate as a number of others in the lagoon. From the gunwale, an object is visible on the ocean floor. Even from this distance, it is easily recognisable as the remains of a truck. Stored on the deck, it probably floated off as the ship went down stern first. Closer inspection reveals a 4-wheel drive Isuzu vehicle. Its grille and bumper have been overtaken by nature, and like the steamroller, the remains are covered in lemon-coloured sea fans. The engine air filter, steering wheel, battery and spare tyre are still in place. Continuing our journey along the ocean floor leads to the San Francisco's propeller. Buried in the sand, only the tip of a blade is showing. Above is her coral-encrusted rudder, swung in the starboard position. And under the ship's overhanging counterstern, a haven for a pair of inquisitive batfish. The many attractions of the foreship and limited dive times mean that few divers visit the stern. It is remarkably intact and a very interesting dive. The prominent rear deckhouse contains the ship's emergency steering machinery. Again, the building's cladding has rotted away, leaving the colourful framework. The doorway is occupied by a telegraph. Ventilator shafts, common on vessels of this vintage, were used to disperse heat from below the decks. This depth charge sits ready for launch some 70 years later. Near the stern on either side of the ship are 2 deck houses, tilted awkwardly toward her centre, a sign of bomb damage. The one on the port side is another bathroom, while the other was used to store lanterns, some of which remain intact. It is easy to imagine both passengers and wartime crew standing at this handrail, gazing at the ship's wake as she crossed the oceans. The 1976 National Geographic article stated that few people will ever see the San Francisco Maru and her ghostly cargo, for she rests in such deep water. Changes in diving technology and equipment have rendered this statement obsolete, and she is easily one of the lagoon's most sought-after dives. But the ravages of time must take their toll on all wrecks, and in October 2012, her bridge collapsed. The San Francisco cannot last forever. Take the opportunity to visit one of the world's best wreck dives.